All right, everybody, I am excited for this Alovéa Pros for a lot of reasons, but one, I know this Alovéa Pro really well, and I love the fact that she's a tennis player, Carli. I can't believe we're doing a podcast together.
I know. Hey, Craig. Yeah, I'm so excited to be on today. Thanks for having me.
I think the only major disappointment is we can't go play tennis right afterwards. It's snowing
I know.
up here in the mountains, and I heard it's even cold in Charlotte.
It is. Yeah, we got flurries last night, so no tennis today, but maybe next
Wow.
time.
Well, it is always an honor to be on the tennis court with you. Now it's a super honor to be on a podcast with you. And is this your first official podcast?
It is. First timer here.
Fancy. All right. Well, this one is going to be a lot of fun. And I love talking tennis, but also I love talking when people become passionate around health. And I think this is really part of your journey, which is going to be a whole lot of fun. Let's back up for a second because I always love hearing, you had this great tennis career. You became an NCAA Division I tennis player. Can you walk people through what is that journey like? Not only being a junior tennis player, but then becoming a scholarship tennis player and a D1 athlete. What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, I mean, really at first it starts with kind of a commitment to say yes. Say yes to committing a lot of time, a lot of effort, and sacrificing some things that kids in growing up in middle school, high school would have that, athletes at this level don't get. So I think kind of starts there. But I started playing tennis when I was 7, started competing at 11. And then I trained throughout middle school, and then come high school, before my freshman year, I decided that I really wanted to get serious, because I knew I had 4 years and actually less than that because you start getting recruited, your junior year usually. And so I decided to do a half day program in high school where I went to
Wow.
school up until the lunch period, and then I would leave around noon. My coach would pick me up until I turned 16 and got my driver's license. And we went to train all afternoon into the evening, and then I'd go home. And of course, I missed half a day of school, so I had to make that up on an online course. They had a whole system set up in Georgia, which was awesome. So it allowed athletes to kind of compete at that level, but still get, their high school degree. And so I did that, played tournaments most weekends, summer camp throughout the summers, every single week, pretty much 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So it takes a lot of time, but I loved it. And, some days were harder than others, but I had a goal in mind, and that was to play in college. So I got recruited to play at Western Carolina University.
Go
And
Cats.
go Cats. Yeah, that's how I made it up to the mountains, beautiful mountains in North Carolina, and played all 4 years there. And yeah, so that's kind of a little bit of the background of it.
Yeah. Well, and I find it amazing because, of course, you and I both grew up in the tennis world. I built the largest tennis school in Canada and was a player. And people don't know that side of the story. Hearing you say that, I haven't actually heard that in a long time. Where it's just like, yeah, you miss the school dances, you miss the get-togethers with the friends because you're at a tournament. You're training every single day. There's some days it feels like you can't hit a ball, and it's like, what in the world? Yeah, you can relate to that.
Played tennis before? I don't know.
Yeah, and you're like, what is going on here? The number of hours it takes, and that's all get to this stage where you're kind of getting to this dream to play college tennis. So now fast forward, because the junior tennis scene is very different than being an NCAA athlete. And it's a student athlete, right? Because so few people go on to become a tour player. So you're still taking study. So what did you study at that is Western Carolina? And what was like a daily routine or a weekly routine being a student athlete?
Yeah, so I studied marketing there. That's what I got my degree in, and then minored in sport management just because of my love for sports. But kind of daily routine there, we had select times where we could choose our classes. So we weren't, most people would want to sleep in and start class around noon. Well, we didn't have that option because we had a practice schedule to work around. So when we were selecting our classes, they were usually in the mornings, starting at 8 a.m. But before that, you wake up and you go lift weights or do conditioning. So that's our first practice of the day. Go to class, grab some lunch, fuel your body for 2 to 3 hour long practice, just depending in the afternoons. Sometime in between that, if you need to go to physical therapy because of an injury you're working on or whatever it may be, you're fitting that into the schedule. And then you still have to do homework. So we're doing that. We had about 20 hours a week of all of this between practice and weightlifting, conditioning. And then we would travel on the weekends, or, teams would come to us, obviously, for our matches. So between practice and then our season was in the spring. So fall, we're competing in tournaments, our team travels together. But I mean, some of these schools, depends where they are, but you're in the van for, a few hours and trying to catch up on homework before getting to the match, preparing mentally, physically. It was definitely a grind, but it's one I would never have given up. I mean, I just it fueled me to be so
Mm,
busy all the time. And I built, many great relationships, obviously, from spending so much time with these other girls, but kind of a day to day. Obviously, there's more to it, but
yeah.
that's a
But
brief
still, that's
rundown.
awesome. Well, and I
Yeah.
think, a lot of people have been to school, a lot of people didn't go to school, but a lot of people, or a lot fewer people, have been through being a student athlete and trying to do the school. To realize the demand on that schedule, I think, is incredible. You just graduated. I know you got a great marketing career. We'll touch on in a second, but this new world has begun called NIL, and it started right after you left, which is your name, image, and likeness, where athletes can actually be sponsored by companies. And you're now a sponsored athlete by this company called Alovéa. So, one is I'd love to know is, well, I kind of know how you were introduced to Alovéa, but also, knowing the NIL world, like how would that have been something you would have been interested in as a student athlete?
Percent, especially if it's something that, like Aloe where you take these products and they have benefits, real benefits. So if you're getting that, plus you're getting to, participate in this sponsorship, and I think it's a win-win for sure.
Nice. And so tell them how you were introduced, because I was there. That's how much I know it.
Yeah. So I went to Western Carolina University, spent some time in the mountains after graduating, and that's when I met you, Craig, and playing tennis with you and your wife, Anne. And you would show up each time, usually, with an Aloe hat. I didn't know what it was, but you kind of started talking about the company. And, to be quite honest, I'm like, okay, cool. A healthcare company that has products that claim that they work. There's a lot of them out there, right?
Exactly.
But, I went to the first Alovéa Pros event in February of this year, and what changed it for me is hearing the testimonies of the people stand up there, talk about some of the most challenging times in their lives, and every single one talked about Alovéa and how it helped them. And I'm like, okay, well, there's no real loss I can have to trying this, so why not? So I started taking the products and have slowly added more and more on, because there is a huge product line with, many different benefits of each product. But yeah, I started taking those, and I don't really want to stop because I'm seeing lots of great benefits from them. You
I
want me
do
to
want
keep
to know.
going?
I want to know more. You got me
Yeah.
at the edge of my seat. So yeah, because tell me. Well, one, what I learned out of that was that you didn't trust me. You needed to hear from other people. That's the way I heard it. But you were in a room filled with coaches and trainers and athletes and doctors and healthcare professionals. So there was a lot of credibility, and you heard those stories. But what was like? How did it impact you? You hearing it, but then when you saw some of your own transformation, and tell us what happened with when you started taking the products.
Yeah, I mean, hearing it at first, because some people have gone through some really, really tough things, I'm like, well, I've never really experienced that, but I don't think it takes an injury or something to where, okay, now I'm going to start taking these products. I think for me, it's I'm taking these to prevent, you know, whatever it is down the line, or at least help that, right? So
Super smart.
yeah, so I started taking a few of the different products. I think I've had both physical and mental kind of benefits that I've seen. Is one, I do have this anxiety that comes from my perfectionism and a constant kind of tightening of my chest a lot of times, and I just don't feel that anymore as much or as often. I mean, it's funny, my manager was like, "Carly, you seem happier." Like, "What?" I'm like, "I don't know. I mean, I haven't really done anything different other than, starting to take some of these products." So, I don't know, but so that's really helped and been a huge thing for me. But then on the physical side, I kind of struggled with a few longer term injuries in
Mm.
college,
Yeah.
my knees, my shoulder, typical tennis things. And, from the time I left college to starting to take the products, I would still kind of struggle with those things sometimes. But now I can go play a match. I can go, work out, lift, and I just don't feel it bothering me as much. So it's been really cool. I never thought that I'd be in that same physical shape that I was when we were training 20 hours a week. I mean,
Yeah, right.
it's just you're in your peak physical condition, and especially at that age too. And now a few years out, I'm like, oh, I kind of feel better than I maybe even used to dealing with some of those struggles.
Well, and
Yeah.
I've been on the courts with you, so I know how big you hit the ball and how hard you hit it. And it is physically demanding. And I know you're not competing at that NCAA level anymore, but you also, because I've seen videos of it and I've been on the courts with you, you picked up your new passion, which by the way, Alovéa is a big sponsor and is this sport paddle, or a lot of people in America call it padel. So how are you enjoying that sport? And are you playing much?
Yeah. Yeah, so I actually, I picked that up actually kind of, right around the time of that Alovéa Pros event in February. I thought, "Oh, this is gonna be so easy." I played tennis, like, I got this. Well,
You fell into that
that's
trap
not the
quickly, right?
case. So, getting used to those walls, I mean, it's just been a new challenge for me because I kinda reached a point in my tennis career where obviously I'm no professional, but I'm not getting like I've kinda hit, as far as I'm gonna go in that sport. And so for me, paddle is something where it's its own new challenge. So I have enough skill to kinda have that baseline, be good enough, but there's so much to learn and there's so much strategy to understand. So I love it. I definitely love it a little more than pickleball because it's more physically demanding. So I feel like I'm getting a good workout and, same results there. Like I can go play for a couple hours and I'm like, I could play again. Like I could play another match right now. And I, drink the stick packs every time I go. It's kind of my thing. I'm like, okay, do I want to bring focus or fuel? Have a fix afterwards. And so I've really enjoyed that as well. Been able to kind of share some with the other players there. And I'm going to be, I'm training right now actually with a team of women representing the Charlotte Paddle Club in,
Wow.
it's the NPL league that's happening. The regionals is in December in Nashville. So we're actually training for that in a few weeks. So I'm
Well,
really
that's
excited.
so cool. That is
Yeah.
so awesome. I didn't know that. Well, and that's, I think one of the things I love too is you've said it a couple times. And a lot of times when you get older, like me, people wait until they have the major injury or the major health crisis later in life, opposed to starting to think younger in age. And I love this thinking, young athletes, student athletes, if we can get more people educated on, instead of a Red Bull, having something that can positively impact your health. And, you start those new habits earlier in life and you think of the long-term impact is huge. But one of the things is you could have just said, "Oh, Craig and Ann, yeah, I like these products. I'll take them." And you could have just become a customer. But you applied to be an Alovéa Pro. You heard these stories. But what was the reason that you said, I'm going to put my reputation on the line? I'm going to hang my hat here. I'm going to go do a podcast and put it out there. What was it that kind of tipped you over the top? And talk a little bit more about what have you learned now that you've dove into this company a little bit further, especially around their buy one, nourish one model?
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of a two-prong answer to this. First, I want to kind of start off with one of the big reasons, is I if I had had these products, let's say instead of my coach going to, Target and grabbing 3 cases of Gatorade for us to get through our matches with enough, energy, which we were drinking just a bunch of sugar, right? If we had had fuel or focus or we had these products to take, you know, when we weren't feeling our best, but we needed to recover really quickly because we had a match in 2 days. I think it would have kept a lot more girls off the bench, having to stay there due to whatever injury they're struggling with at that time. And I also think I wouldn't have had to spend as much time in the training room doing physical therapy. I mean, there were stints where I was in there every single morning for 30
Wow.
minutes to an hour just to make my knee feel okay enough to go practice that afternoon. I think it would have made a really huge impact. So I think it's important that we are able to share this with current, college athletes and their coaches because it really comes down to that too. And there's also an opportunity there for these athletes to be sponsored. But then on the, the buy one nourish one, so I've actually had the chance to go to Mexico twice now
Mm.
with the hope movement, and I think that was a turning point because it really put into perspective for me. We have these products and we're nourishing ourselves, but it takes you to see a kid smile or a mother smile because of the things that we're doing to really see the impact that we actually do have beyond our borders. So that's been really special. I am so grateful to have experienced that. And I think it's something that everyone should experience because when you go down there, I mean, you're not really able to speak with these people. I mean, most of them don't speak English. But I think there's this unspoken language that we thank you for what you're doing and we want to show that. You
Hmm.
walk into these communities with all the kids and all the mothers, and they just start clapping. And you're like, did I do that?
Wow.
Like, that's pretty cool, right? So it's been really special. And I hope to go back and just continue, hoping that people catch on to what the amazing things that these products can do.
Well, that is so awesome. And it's funny. I watched a video just the other day of Blake Makowski, and I don't know if you know that name, but he founded Tom Shoes back in the beginning. A young guy that just wanted to create a shoe, and for every shoe purchase would donate a shoe. And of course, it ended up getting bought out for hundreds of millions of dollars, and they kind of moved away from that. But he's going back to like what really created this movement to create a billion-dollar brand was people want to do good. They want to be part of good. And so, Bombast Socks is a company that does a great job with that. And we're the only health company in the world doing this, where we just surpassed 2 million servings. And so for every single serving we provide, it creates a matching serving of the same technology to children in need around the world. And I think it's so cool that you got to go down there and not only visit the kids, but you actually got to stay at the former presidents of Mexico's hacienda, President Fox and his wife. What was it like just hanging out? I mean, other than him, I've never hung out with presidents of major countries before. What was that like being a young professional, a marketing professional that you are? Now all of a sudden you're sitting there in the room and hanging out with the president of a former country or former president of a major country.
Yeah, it was so interesting because usually you would think you're going to meet the president of a country and thank them. But we sat in that room and he thanked each one of us. And I thought that was really cool, right?
Powerful.
Yeah.
It's kind of so moving to think of that, him and his wife, and they're just their commitment is incredible. Well, this has been, first of all, first podcast. What do you think?
I was nervous at first, but it was really, I
It's
was
like we're
getting
just
more
hanging out.
comfortable afterwards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're just hanging out. Well, first of all, I think your wisdom at a young age is incredible. Your passion. I love the fact that you're moving towards this. I'm going to live a healthier life now rather than wait for some major issues. In food technology, if we're feeding ourselves right, it's amazing the things that can happen. But of course, I have to finish off with a major question here. You have no idea about this question.
I
And this
don't.
could define how we treat each other on the tennis court the next time we get on the court.
Okay. I'll think carefully.
Favorite male tennis player, favorite female tennis player of all time? Ooh, that's a big one.
Favorite male.
Go with the female first. I don't think
Okay.
I'm going to be as offended if you say somebody I'm not thinking.
Favorite female. So my claim to fame was that I played a tennis tournament with, not with, but Coco Gauff was in the same tennis tournament as me when I was younger. But my favorite is Arena Sabalenka.
Okay, all
She's just
right.
a fighter, and I think she's awesome.
She is amazing. Okay, well done. Both of those. And that's pretty cool that you're in a tournament with Coco at the same time as well.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the men's side now.
Men's side, I mean, obviously, the big three are great, but I love Tiafo. I think he's awesome. And
Wow.
he just has such a good energy. And, I love that he has connected with so many people outside the tennis world that have kind of hyped tennis up a lot more than, people typically see it as. So
Okay, I'm going to give you massive points for that because
thanks.
TFO, his whole story is pretty incredible. So,
It
yes,
is.
we can go back on the tennis courts and have a whole lot of fun now.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad. I'm
Well,
glad it
thank you so
passed.
much for hanging out with me today, Carli. And I think it's going to be really exciting to see as we are launching a new program exclusively for NIL athletes. So you can visit aloveapros.com. There's a whole new section for NCAA athletes who want an NIL sponsorship. Carli, I guess you have to go back to school if you want that version, but you're already a pro, so you don't need it. So,
Thanks for having me today, Craig. I'm super excited for everything to come.
all right. Bye, everybody.